and then your confidence start building, and then you start networking with other real estate investors that are local to you, or maybe you find them on LinkedIn, or you meet them at a conference, and you say what they're doing, and then they're doing big projects. They're like, oh, I could do this too. So I'm at that point where I could do anything anybody else can. I proved that as far as the net lease stuff, from starting it with just a little bit amount of money, a little bit of marketing money, to doing over $100 million within 5 years, and doing it from my basement. And I remember closing a deal while I was on vacation, and I was seeing the wire come in, and I was giving my wife a high five, and like, I like this. I know I can do it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dwaine with the Financial Freedom Journal. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Dwaine Clark. He has a lot going on. He has a 3-time author. He invests, commercial real estate broker. But I'll go ahead and let you kind of give your own bio, because you have a lot going on. So please, would you mind introducing yourself, telling a little bit about what you do and where you're from?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you again, Dan, for being on your show. Looking forward to the discussion. But yeah, I'm a real estate investor, real estate broker, and syndicator. Primarily stick to single tenant net lease properties. That's kind of been my bread and butter, and also dabble in as well as in the multifamily space. So for the single tenant stuff, we've done over 100 million within 5 years. Clients almost in about close to 40 states. Deals ranging from fast food restaurants to large pharmacies to large medical to large office buildings. So we kind of had a pretty diverse array of investments that we've been involved in. I'm also invested as a limited partner in some of these deals with my clients and other fellow passive investors. And like I said, I'm also a host of the Wealth of Real Estate Investing podcast, which is a weekly podcast which we interview individuals like Dan, other fellow investors that specialize in different strategies of real estate and wealth creation. And we just love kind of getting people together with the same mindset that can offer a lot of advice and value to other investors that want to get into that space as well.
Great. Excellent bio. I see you got the books back there. Can you kind of show those on the screen for the subscribers?
Oh yeah. So I have 3 books. One is Apartment Building Wealth, which I wrote probably about 5-6 years ago, which is focusing on building wealth through apartments and kind of like a how-to on how to get involved in it. The second one is the Real Estate IRA, is for people that are looking to utilize a self-directed IRA to get into passive investments as well as other type of business ventures. And then my last one, which is the Real Estate Mailbox Money, which is kind of like my larger focus of single tenant and net lease properties. And mailbox money is kind of the buzzword that's used for it, because it's really a passive investment. You buy into it, and you just continuously get that rent check each month. So, it's getting that mailbox money, that check in the mail every single month. So that's something that people like. Exactly.
Yeah. While you're sleeping, making the money while you're sleeping.
Exactly.
I think Warren Buffett was one of that kind of coined that quote. If you can't figure out a way to make money while you're sleeping, then you'll work forever. So I think that's pretty cool. And you talk about your self-directed IRA. I think that's a very underutilized tool that a lot of people have that they can use, that they just don't know how to use it. So for anyone listening out there, you have money in your 401k. I know your book describes how to invest with your 401k and through your 401k to where you can, continue to grow more wealth with your 401k that you already have. So that's awesome. That's great.
Absolutely.
Right, so how did you get started? Where did it all start at? Real estate, where this whole real estate thing, where'd you start at?
It's a pretty long journey, I would say. It kind of started, I always had a passion to learn about real estate. I'm probably the same with many investors who found the purple book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. along with other stuff. I could see it. I could see it back there in your big library. You know, it's probably lost because of all the other books. But yeah, just started with reading. You know, starting out in corporate America, and had a job that was like probably an hour and a half away. So I had so much time, so I decided to buy all these audiobooks, and that's really where it kind of got me motivated and listening to different strategies. You know, some being in the car for almost 3 hours a day. I end up, you know, reading almost like probably 25 audiobooks at that time. And I just got hooked. And so I call it, Automobile University. So I ended up getting like an MBA in real estate through there. So through there, I just kind of learned different strategies. And at that time, I found a couple local real estate association meetings. And I started going to that and learning different stuff, running creative real estate, got into the house flipping game, found like a kind of a mentor / partner at the time. And we did about 30 deals our first year, buying, fixing, flipping. So I learned about like the foreclosures, marketing. You know, I remember the days where I'm putting up signs 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning with the staple gun, with the hoodies on and stuff, and would do it until the police says, okay, you're done for the night. They know that we're out there trying to make our money. We're hustling, but they'll give us a little bit of leeway, and then we'll get a call from the city saying you got to take down the signs. But they work, so we did that for a while, and then kind of advanced. And I just kind of got tired of, for the little rehab projects, I used to be in these houses till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with the contractors, and just like, the sawdust and it's a good business. I learned a lot, but that's kind of not what I wanted to do. Got my broker's license, my real estate license, wanted to learn on the sales side, and then eventually get into the multifamily, did property management. And then really key for me to get into single tenant net lease was one of my clients that I sold a couple apartment buildings he's like, I'm getting all this money from a CVS pharmacy, and then he had a Walgreens and all this. I was like, I didn't know you can actually buy that stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that they owned the building, they did all their stuff, but those, their business model is based off of renting and leasing to other, for landlords. So I started learning about that, and then kind of focus on that. And then the way I wanted to live my life, starting a young family, is that now I can do this business at home. So all I need is a laptop, a phone, and I'm working with clients, internationally, as well as people all over the country, and working on these deals. Then I got more on the passive side and started investing alongside with my clients, and then now kind of took it from there. So yeah, it was quite a journey. Wouldn't change anything for the world. It's just so many small stuff it takes to get to this point. But that's how it is with working and starting any business. So glad to take the journey.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. We talk about financial freedom the journey, and you kind of went through the gambit with your journey. You said you did wholesale, and you did flipping. You pretty much did every aspect of real estate investing that you could do, and it seems like you settled on your niche, the triple net lease. And we'll kind of dive into that a little bit for those who are unfamiliar with the triple net lease strategy. But one thing that you said I really, really like, and I'm going to start using, is the Automobile University. I love that. Yeah, I love that. So I'm a big audiobook fan as well. So I think that's another tool that a lot of people are underutilizing. Instead of just listening to music on their commute, they can easily just pop in a book and retain some knowledge, get some actually grow while they're on their commute versus just listening to music and things. So that's phenomenal. So kind of going back into the triple net lease, can you explain what that is for? You kind of touched on it, but can you give can you give an example of what that is and what that looks like? Kind of define that, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a triple net lease agreement is an agreement with one tenant that occupies that building. It could be industrial, office, retail, fast food, casual dining, medical, government, a whole bunch of array of different tenants. They occupy one building, and that's it. They pay the lease. And in many structures, you have an absolute triple net lease where the tenant is responsible for the taxes, insurance, maintenance, CAM charges, all the different arrays of it. And then minus all that, you get the rent check. So that's a good, very passive investment for investors where they'll buy into one of these properties and then they'll just get the rent check each month. There's some other structure where it's a double net where the landlord's just responsible for the roof or the structure of the parking lot. But for many cases, and in my particular case, I only dealt with just absolute triple nets where the tenant was responsible for everything. And that's what my tenants, my investors like, because they can be living in California and own a property in Florida. They can own a property in New York City. They can own a property in Texas. So we really target the best locations, the best tenants, and then they just really just lay back and just get that rent check. Comparatively to other different types of investments like an apartment where you can kind of force appreciation, it's a little bit more flexibility in your investment. This is really, really passive. So like the lease term is typically 10, 20 years. And then it has like its incremental rental increases that are built in. Maybe it's 10% rental increases every 5 years or annual increases. So you know that's set in stone that can happen compared to an apartment where the lease agreement is a year and then you can bump it up, 13% or 5%, or you base off the market. But here is really set in stone. So it's really passive. So it's a good alternative for capital preservation, people who's doing 1031 exchanges into a really active, really heavy duty investment that they don't want to deal with anymore. They just want to go into the passive side, or they just want to just place some idle cash and just put it into something and just have it work for them instead of it sitting into a bank and earning a very low amount on a CD or something like that. So it's a good option.
So typically you're looking at lower cap rates with the triple net lease just because of the stability that it offers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's a long-term lease. It's a set tenant. You can't really mess around with the lease agreement once it's set in place. So like I said, it's a different option from apartments. But what I always tell my clients and investors is to diversify your investments. You have some triple net lease agreements, triple net lease properties. You have some apartments. You have some self-storage. You do some fix and flips. So you have money coming in for different strategies, coming in all the time. And especially depending on your lifestyle. A lot of my investors are older in age, so they just don't want to deal with, having to deal with a property manager or deal with an asset manager. So they own these and they just know that cash flow is going to be coming in consistently year in and year out. And you can pass it on to your kids who may not have no interest in real estate whatsoever. That's a perfect type of give. I've dealt with so many estate type of investment structures where they have kids that they have no interest at all, but they want to make sure that they have real estate in their portfolio coming in, getting the tax benefits, getting that cash flow each month. So as many different options and benefits of owning them.
Yeah, legacy wealth. And the thing that I really like about the triple net lease, especially the absolute triple net leases, you're not doing anything. It's like, that's ultimate passivity. I think that's phenomenal. I looked into it a couple of years ago. I was talking to some friends about it. So I really, really like that strategy, especially you talk about diversifying. We never really know what the economy is going to look like, especially now. There's a lot of people saying that we're we've got to be nearing the peak of another market cycle. And I agree as well. And that's one way to combat that by diversifying, especially using the triple net lease strategy. So I think that's phenomenal. So yeah, can you talk us through like an example deal or maybe one of let's talk your first deal. What was your first deal like as far as in the triple net lease world, and what did that look like? Can you kind of give us some of the numbers, just an example of what it was for you and some of the lessons you learned throughout that as well?
Yeah. So I did a DaVita dialysis center. They're one of the number one dialysis providers in the world. I think forget how many multi-billion-dollar cap there are. So it's a very large company. They have locations nationwide all over the place. And so my client was doing a 1031 exchange, was getting out of a land investment, which was earning nothing at all. So he said, I'm going to put into a dialysis center, which at that period of time was yielding about a 6 cap. So it was a total cash deal. I had some cash laying around, so we actually structured a deal where I put in some cash with him as well. So it's really, we just got a straight 6% return on that with 10% rental increases every 5 years. So that's doing good. And like I said, I have some other smaller ones in some medical office. I kind of like that industry and a couple small fast foods as well. And I've done a couple structures with some small interests and some McDonald's corporate leases as well. So those actually worked out very good for us as well. So yeah, so I have my hands dipped into many pots and stuff. And the thing with if you're buying like a deal cash, you know exactly what you're going to come out with as far as returns. Most of the deals I've done has been cash investors, so they'll go buy in. So as far as like dealing with mortgages, which we've dealt with before, but I haven't any investments in those right now.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't even know McDonald's used that strategy. I thought, I mean, Ray Kroc, one of the biggest things he said was it's not just he's not in the burger business, he's in the real estate business. Like
exactly.
All the land underneath his restaurant. So that's actually surprising. I did not know that McDonald's uses that strategy.
The cool thing about it is that the places that we shop, eat, get entertainment at, get our clothing, is like there's so many tenants out there that are under this type of lease structure. I mean, it's just a benefit for them to not have a lot of ownership of properties on their books. Is that it's an easier option for them as a business, and an advantage for us is we get to become the landlord of them. So McDonald's have, of course, their franchise model, which people like you said, Ray Kroc is really in the real estate business. That's all totally separate. So we're not buying those, but we're actually buying the corporate locations where corporate owns these locations. They're operating them. They have their own staff and everything. And then they lease those out. And then the landlord could take over and be the owner of that property. So that's a little difference there. The same with Taco Bell's, same with Bank of America, same with Arby's. Anything like there's a major iconic brands you see out there. Those are also in the triple net lease space as well. So
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it goes pretty deep. And then there's also, you can be able to purchase franchises compared to, McDonald's, they don't offer that. But say, I made an example of Arby's, they have franchisees that may own 28 locations. They can also then sell the real estate to a landlord, and they can own it, and they can structure it that way as well. So there's many different, layers to the onion that you can get into this type of business. And then when I'm advising my clients, I always talk about get a great tenant with a good track record, good location, and all of the different intrinsical values of that piece of real estate at that location. So it gets really deep, but again, there's so many benefits to it. But like I said, it's many layers to it.
So now let's talk about what everybody loves to hear. Some of the hard times, some of the lessons learned through maybe not just that triple net lease, but one of your other deals that you may have done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, being involved in so many different stuff, I had my hand in the pot of many different stuff, from the fix and flips, wholesaling, dealing with the foreclosures and property management and the brokerage. So it's like I can go down to many, many different lines, and as well as 10 different businesses I tried starting. So it's like I got a stack of 100 business cards that I've, from the different businesses I started. So one that probably come to mind is the fix and flip stuff, because when you go into a project, you don't fully know what your expenses will be until the project gets done. Sometimes you overestimate, you underestimate. So we did projects in Western Massachusetts where we tried to skim the cat a little bit by hiring our own contractors and running our own team compared to kind of getting like a actual legit general contractor. And then many times you'll get burned if stuff don't go out your way. You end up picking up materials from contractors, high-end contractors that have personal problems that don't come to work. So I have many, many different stories. But yeah, my main thing that I learned is that I wouldn't take it back for the world. You gotta keep running with it. We live a long life. Money is probably the fastest thing you can get back, but the time you can never get back. So sometimes I would kind of get hard on myself and say, maybe I should have done this different big, but again, you got to jump in the game, and you got to do something. If not, you get left behind. 10 years later, you can be like, man, I should have did something, just do something. That's the biggest key that I learned.
I love that. I really, really do love that. You said you've started several businesses already. You said you got a stack of 100 different business cards, which is awesome. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people listening, or maybe not, are not listening, but people get too caught up on taking a loss. They think that, if I take a loss, it's over for me. That's it, But just like you said, you gotta try something. You gotta start somewhere. You gotta try something. And if you mess up, you learn a lesson from it, and you can continue on. It's going to make you stronger, so that you can eventually end up pretty much where you're at right now. And you got to work through these things, the process. So I love that you said that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and then just the key on that. I mean, it's just as you get older, you get wiser, you learn more stuff. I'm more calculated in my risk taking. I know myself more, but it built up to that point where you get those experiences in life, and then you just move forward. But the constant education. You can see my little library. I'm always adding in stuff, always learning stuff. Every time I'm in the car, I always have an audio playing subconsciously. Like if I'm not really listening to it, I know like it's sinking in there. I try to be positive. I'm always talking to people like you, networking with people, just learning things and just being self-aware of your situation and just constantly trying to improve yourself is just kind of like the thing that helped me a lot. I got a long way to go continuously, now I got a young family and stuff. And it's just, you just always got to move forward and make something happen.
right, definitely right, man. So we talked about the reasons why you're doing it. You kind of touched on some of them. You have a family now, and you're trying to build for them. This is all about, I'm assuming, generational wealth, building legacy wealth for your family, and you touched on it before as well. That you can pass something on to your kids, and an easy passive income source. So, what is outside of that? What does financial freedom really mean to you, and how long do you think it's going to take for you to actually hit that mark for you?
Yeah, financial freedom for me is just really to the point where we can, I would say, I just want my family to be set. That's my big motivation. I want to be able to be the point where my kids, my daughter and my son can, if they want, take over the business. Me and my business partner, we always talk about, we want to get tons of properties, pay them all off, having cash flow coming in, and just put our kids to kind of run it so we can kind of lay back. We won't be able to ability. My wife is from Europe, to be able to travel anytime we want. We want to improve our physical lives, eat the best foods, have the best experiences. So we want to kind of fine tune the stuff that, as we were younger, we wish we had, and then bring that for our children. So as Rex says, really about my child, I want them to have the best education. So it's every single thing that is just motivated on that pretense. It's just passing on to the next generation and the family. We got a pretty large family between here and Jamaica and Florida. You always want to be able to find ways to help them out. And, you have conversations with your friends. You want to make sure that they're set. It's like everyone want to move forward, so like you want to help everybody, but you want to do it the best way and the most positive way possible.
You're right, and that definitely family, friends, all that stuff really keeps you focused and keeps you on track to doing what you're passionate about, which is real estate. So let's talk about some of the maybe more recent things. What are you getting into now? And what are you trying to move into? Are you still sticking with only triple net lease? Are you diversifying out? What's your plans?
Yeah, so the plan is to diversify more into the multifamily space. As you know, like, so there are many benefits of the net lease world, but it has its limitations as far as kind of like how far you can stretch your yield there. So I'm a big advocate of the diversification. A lot of my investors, they own self-storage, they own apartments. So now we're looking at larger projects now and syndicating those deals. So recently been like looking at a couple projects, how the numbers work out, bring them to our investors, see if those make sense. And now that all this time now doing the brokerage and saving up the cash, now I have my war chest ready to go so I can be able to take advantage of those opportunities. And like I said, just being smart about it and looking at what deals is there. But we see now in the next 5 to 10 years to increase our holdings in the net lease space, in conservatively on select deals, but not only, focusing on this multifamily stuff that can give you a really good return on your money and really be able to scale it, especially when you're syndicating it.
Definitely. So moving into syndication, moving into the multifamily, can you kind of walk us through that? What would someone be looking at? Let's say I'm trying to get started in apartment investing. What are some of the steps that I need to take in order to put myself in a position to buy my first apartment? You talked syndication a little bit, bringing other partners. I think a lot of people think that, apartment buildings are kind of bought by one person. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, and sometimes it seems kind of intimidating because it looks like a big property, and then there's like sometimes there's a lot of, I say, let me just go stick with a single family and kind of start small. That's an option as well, and if you want to do that, but it really comes down to your goal and the type of lifestyle you want to live. In my perspective, is that if you want to be truly passive, you can jump into the larger deals. You just have to find a way to bring value to a deal. Either you're finding the money, you're putting in some of your money, you're putting in the sweat equity, you're structuring the deal. So there's many ways you can be able to partner up, find another sponsor that can bring in, the mortgage, bring in the ability to sign on the deal, bring in some other capacity, and then put a team together and then take down a deal. And that's where kind of the position where I kind of got started in some of those stuff. But as far as if you want to take it to buying a single family, fix and flip where I started, because my belief at that time was you have to start there before you go to the bigger stuff. And there's some good argument for that as well. So it really comes down to what you really want to do, but there's no limit that you should have to start here in order to get to there. You can actually start going big if you want, or if you have $10,000, you can just put your money into a limited partnership and just get a good return there. So there's so many different options now, especially now there's so much information. It's not like the rich real estate investors passing on the information to just a select few amount of people. You can just start watching your show. You can start going on Bigger Pockets. You can start watching, listening to podcasts. So like now that there's so much information now, people can get into different stuff. The changes with the SEC laws, now you can be able to bring in
crowdfunding
types of crowdfunding and bring in non-accredited to accredited investor, depending on the type of structure you use. So it's so much opportunity now, and it's like sky's the limit. So it's really got what do you want to do in life? You learn everything about it, and you just start and get started.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. One thing I've noticed is that even though there's so much opportunity out there, there's so much free information out there, a lot of people aren't really taking advantage of that. What do you think do you have an idea to what that is? I'm sure you've probably dealt with it. You've tried to maybe talk to some coworkers or friends or family or something like that, kind of describing what you're doing, but it kind of goes one in the ear and out the other, So what do you think? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's like, that's always an interesting conversation too. It seems like this stuff is out there. Why are not people taking action on it? I don't know if it's the distraction of other things, or it's just the lack of focus, limiting belief. But for me, it's the self-confidence and the limiting belief portion of it. And for me, that helped get me to that next level was starting to read books of like the Robert Kiyosaki's of the world, the Grant Cardones, the different types of successful investors. So whoever is the most successful, I'll go buy their book. I'll go check them out on YouTube, listen to their podcast. And then all of a sudden your mind starts to open up like, I could do this. And then your confidence start building. And then you start networking with other real estate investors that are local to you, or maybe you find them on LinkedIn, or you meet them at a conference and you say what they're doing. And then they're doing big projects. They're like, oh, I could do this too. So I'm at that point where I could do anything anybody else can. I proved that as far as the net lease stuff, from starting it with just a little bit amount of money, a little bit of marketing money, to doing over $100 million within 5 years, and doing it from my basement. And And then, I remember closing a deal while I was on vacation, and I was seeing the wire come in, and I was giving my wife a high five, and like, I like this. I like this. I know I can do it. And she was always supportive and say, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. And it's just like the support system. And then hanging around people who, will push you. Sometimes I had to leave a bunch of my party friends who just didn't get it. They just was always negative, always talking junk. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I just had to leave them alone. Find my wife and just started concentrating, stop going out partying, stop hanging out, started reading more, started focusing, and then things just started blooming. Now everybody's want to call me like, hey D, can we meet? Can we talk? Hey, it's too late, man. I'm busy now, So it just really comes down to, knowing when you want it and just going out and getting it. So I'm glad I took that approach.
Absolutely, absolutely love that response. Love that entire response, because I think every person that has had any, even the littlest bit of success, has dealt with the same thing. Especially when you're starting off, you haven't done it before. You get a lot of people that are forcing their own limiting beliefs on you, saying that because they can't imagine themselves doing something, they're like, no, you might not want to do that. Probably shouldn't do that. Don't go that route. And then people don't typically, it seems like people don't typically believe in you until, you actually kind of prove yourself. And that's unfortunate, but the best we can do is continue to put out the information and try to inspire others to do, to get, to get their first deal done. I think a lot of what you're saying, kind of, I attribute at least what I've done, and I'm assuming what you've done to your mindset, like the mentality that you have. You're getting rid of limiting beliefs, you're educating yourself, building the confidence, and then you actually go out and execute something, regardless if it's even that one deal, the very small deal. It doesn't matter how big it is. It's just the proof of concept. You know that you can do it now. And then you can easily, it just snowballs effects to the next deal and the next deal and the next deal. I think that's amazing. Just pushing through that first round of negativity through friends and family, pushing through that first round of self-doubt. As soon as you get through that cloud, then, you're standing on top of the mountain. You can see everything, all these unlimited possibilities. So I think that's great. And I think
it's all, yeah, exactly. It's all the mindset. Even if it's a small deal to a large deal, it's all numbers. It's the same thing. A real estate transaction from a small thing takes the same amount of effort to you buying a larger deal. It may take a little bit of time, a little bit of work, but for the most part, it's the same thing. But it really is. It's all the mindset, and it's and at times people struggle with it because it's a big wave. So it's like you have to try to keep constant, keep positive, keep flowing in information, keep talking to people, keep seeing the proof of concept, and it's gonna happen. And then once you get that first one, you're gonna get that thirst. You're gonna keep going, keep going. I gotta get more of it, and you keep moving forward. And it's nice to also have accountability. You have a network. You're doing meetups. You do have conversations like this, and you tell them like, this is my goals, and then you call them in another month, say, hey, did you do what you say you was gonna do? And then that kind of pushes you compared to hang around people where they won't mention it to you. They'll kind of let it go. So my wife, she sees my open schedule on my calendar. Hey babe, you got a podcast, you got a meeting here, you got to make this call. Did you do it? Oh, I make sure I do it. So she keeps me accountable to make sure the money coming in. So make sure we want to move to Florida. We want to go on vacation. Make sure, put your work in. You can do it. You can get it done. So that's how it is.
You're right, man. You're right. Dead on. So what advice do you have for anybody who is who's just starting off, or somebody who has some limiting beliefs or anything like that? Do you have any advice for them? What would you say to someone like that?
I would just say, pick up any book. Just start on maybe an online forum, talk with an investor like yourself, go to a local meeting, just kind of get your feet wet to kind of see what's out there. Because there's so many options that you can choose from. You can start a net lease, you can start an apartment, you can start a house flipping, the bird strategy, a whole bunch of different stuff you can do. So it comes down to what your lifestyle that you want. And align it with the particular strategy that's out there, and then go learn everything about it. I interviewed a land investor, a land flipper guy, and I had no idea that was a big thing. And he's made millions of dollars doing it. And people just all they do is land, or all they do is net lease, and all they do is apartments, or all they do is fix and flip. And they just know everything. When I'm starting out with anything that I want to learn, I go find who's the best in the industry. I find all their YouTube videos, I save them all. I find all their articles, I print them all out, make a little big book, and I buy all their books. And I just read out, I listen to podcasts, I find the audio, put on a CD, put into the car, and I'll just engulf myself for like a whole month. And then after a month, I'm just like surprised, like how much I learned from it. And it's like, and then it kind of takes me to the next level. Then I just start taking the action, and then just kind of learning all along the way, and things get better. And then I take the next one. So yeah, for people starting out, just find out what you want to do, find out what kind of lifestyle you like, and then align yourself with the particular person that's the best in the industry, or a particular source, or if it's a mentor or a course, and just do it. And then you start to kind of engulf yourself in it, and then you learn it like any other skill. Because all this stuff that we're doing, the real estate, it's all just a skill. We learn how to do it, and then you execute it, and then you get better, and then you get bigger, and then and you make a lot of money.
You're right. So, where can my subscribers get in contact with you? Where can we reach out to? We know you have the podcast, Wealth of Real Estate Investing. We got the books out there. Where can my subscribers reach out to you and to learn more about you, or continue to follow you and what you're doing?
Absolutely. The podcast is available on all listening platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere you can get your local podcasting. I have a YouTube channel. Just type in my name there. The books are available on Amazon. You can pick those up. On LinkedIn pretty actively. Shoot me an email. Shoot me a message. If you're interested in buying a triple net lease property, you're an investor. You want to get into those types of investments at buytriplenetproperties.com. That's buynnproperties.com. Or if you want to look at the type of projects that we're involved in to be a possible investor, and we have a free webinar, just informational only, at investingdoneforyou.com, which is all typed out.
I will have all of those links right below his pictures right there. And then also, if you look in the show notes, you'll see those as well. Just click on the little bar, and you'll see everything that was just mentioned there. So we'll make sure we have that posted so we can get some people funneled through you and continue to follow you and hopefully invest. So we talk about getting those first time investors out there. If you're listening to this and you haven't taken action on anything, there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And Dwaine can definitely help you see those opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities. So it'd be great.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. But do you have any other final words for the subscribers out there? Anyone listening? Yeah,
like I said, just go out there and just get educated. Listen to your podcast platform, your online channel, and find other information out there. It's just, we're so blessed now to have the access to information that before we used to be just in the textbook, or you had to go to the library, which I had to do back in the day. I used to just live in a library. But yeah, just so much information out there. Find out what you really want to do. It may not be real estate. You may want to be a business person. There's so much information out there. Just engulf yourself into it. Continue to build that confidence, and sky's the limit.
And great. That's great words. Great words. I can't really add much onto that. So with that said, that's pretty much it. Hey, if you're liking the videos, if you're liking my interviewers here, please do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're finding value out of what we're putting out here, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Also, please make sure to look up Mr. Dwaine Clark and all of his links below. He does have a podcast out as well. It'd be great if you guys go check that out. It's some great content. I've listened to, I think, 3 or 4 of the shows. They're very, very in-depth on what the topics are. So they talk triple net leases, talk apartment investing, talk tax strategy. There's a lot of great episodes out there, and I really enjoyed the podcast. Also, he's got his YouTube channel as well. Like I said, it'll be down there. So please do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, the like button, leave a comment if you have any questions. Either one of us will be sure to answer that question. And that's it. It's Dan Wynn signing out. Thank you very much again for coming on the show with me. I really, really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you again. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk with you. And like I said, love sharing the stories and information with you all the time. And God bless to you. And thank you again for serving.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Dan Wynn signing out.